Hi everybody, this is Barbara Drazga, and today I'm going to show you how to take all those ideas that you generate when you have a brainstorming session. I'm going to show you how to action the best of those ideas. So when we brainstorm, we come up with this bucket full of ideas, and some are more relevant than others. I don't want to say better, but some are more relevant than others to whatever project you're working on right now. So I use a tool called a matrix that allows me to identify which ideas I should work with right now. So I'm going to show you that tool today. Here's what a matrix looks like. It's basically, now I use a flip chart and colored markers. I like the free form writing things down. There's something about physically writing something for me that really helps me be more creative. Now you can do this however you like. You can have, you can print this page out, or you can have it in Excel or Word, and you can type your ideas in. So the way that this is structured is that your ideas go on the left-hand side after you've kind of picked out some ideas that you might want to run with, and then the criteria are going to go on the upper right-hand side. And basically what we're going to do is rank the ideas against a set of criteria so we can even further boil down just into one or two ideas that we can run with immediately. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is, of course, brainstorm ideas. And for the purpose of this example, we're just going to use vacation spots you'd like to visit or vacation experiences that you'd like to have. So you can sit with a piece of paper and maybe with your spouse and your kids and say, okay, let's write a quick list. Let's brainstorm things that we'd like to do on vacation or places we'd like to see or experiences we'd like to have. And just do a quick brainstorming session. And then narrow that list down to about no more than 10 ideas. After you've done that, now you're going to brainstorm again. Take a separate sheet of paper and you're going to brainstorm a list of the criteria that are important to you. And you're going to evaluate your ideas against that list. So brainstorm a list of criteria. So it could be, for example, that you want your vacation in someplace warm, or you want your vacation in a place where there's mountains, or you want to experience a vacation that's maybe less than a certain amount of dollars per person in terms of cost. Maybe you want a vacation that's domestic, or a vacation that's overseas in a different country. So write down a list of criteria that are things that you'd like to have in your ideal vacation. Now this is going to help you prioritize which ideas to start with, and also it's going to clarify which ideas are a no-go for this vacation, but it will also give you an idea of, from those 10 ideas that are vacation experience choices, it will help you prioritize, maybe the first, second, and third options. So it's not just about identifying one idea, but maybe identifying ideas for a couple of future vacations as well. So then you're going to create your matrix. Draw out a matrix on a piece of paper like the slide I just showed you and the next slide. You can do it on a flip chart, you can do it in an Excel file, and then you're going to list your best ideas, up to 10 of them, on the left-hand side of the matrix. Then you're going to put your criteria on the top of the matrix, and here's what it looks like. There's your blank matrix, and this is where we've put in the criteria, and it helps to kind of you can write it left to right, but it helps if you put it at an angle. It's just kind of easier to see. And then you'll put your ideas on the left-hand side, and this is what it looks like in the end. You'll have your different ideas down the left-hand side, and then your criteria across the top. So go ahead and take a minute to do that now. After you've brainstormed your ideas, and then brainstorm some criteria, put them into a matrix like this. And you can go ahead and pause the video and give yourself time to catch up. So now what we're going to do is rank the ideas against criteria. Now here's what I don't recommend. I don't recommend that you use numerical values because we want to leave some wiggle room for intuition and what feels good, and also some wiggle room for maybe ideas that need to be fleshed out just a little bit more in order to make a decision. So I use scoring systems. So I'll use maybe a smiley face, a sad face, and a neutral face, or a plus symbol, a minus symbol, and a question mark. And the question mark and the neutral face under any of those criteria will indicate that maybe I need to gather some more information about that particular criteria or that vacation idea in order to make a more informed decision. So here's an example of what you can do. So just showing you two different methods of ranking. Smiley face, and then I used this. This is a definite stop, no go. And then the empty circle is, I'm not quite sure and I just need to do a little bit more research. It could be yes, it could be no. And then the same thing with the plus. Yes, this definitely meets that criteria. This idea meets that criteria. And the minus is it definitely does not meet the criteria. And then maybe put a question mark if there's a criteria that you're not sure if it meets, which is an indication to just go do a little bit more research about that vacation idea. So here's a sample using our vacation ideas, a sample matrix using some ideas and some criteria. So I brainstormed ideas that included surfing in the Cayman Islands, taking a Caribbean cruise, a week in a Tuscan farmhouse, hiking in Costa Rica, hiking the Appalachian Trail, Disney in Shanghai, teaching English in Swaziland, and around the world city hopping. And then the criteria I brainstormed are, I'd like an adult-only experience, I'd like it to cost under $1,200 per person, I'd like it to be in a warm and sunny spot, I'd like it to have water sports, I'd love it to have mountains, and I'd like to have luxury accommodations for my next vacation experience. Now keep in mind, all of this data can be changed. So if you find that your next trip you want to take the entire family, then of course this adult-only criteria will change to kid-friendly, right? Or if you want to go with your grandparents or your parents, the elderly, maybe you want something that's more geared towards elderly. So, and luxury accommodations, maybe you want to rough it the next time. So this criteria will change. So you can change the criteria, which will change the outcome of the entire matrix. And the same thing with changing ideas. You can plug in completely different ideas and leave the criteria the same and have a totally different outcome. So go ahead and take a minute now to put your ideas on the left-hand column and your criteria on the top. So here's what a finished grid looks like. And for the purpose of this grid, I used smiley faces, and I used a no-go sign, that stop sign, and then I used the round button, which basically means I'm not sure and I need to get more information. So I took idea number 1, surfing in the Cayman Islands, and I went across my criteria. Is this an adult-only experience? Yes. Can I do it for less than $1,200 a person? Yes. Is it warm and sunny? Does it have water sports? Does it have mountains? And does it have luxury accommodations? And in this case, it was smiley faces across the board. So let's just pop down to maybe Disney in Shanghai. Is it an adult-only experience? I suppose it could be, but you'll be around a lot of children, so I put a no-go on this one just for the purpose of this example. Does it cost less than $1,200 per person? Well, if you're coming from North America, you'll have the flight plus the cost of getting into the park plus hotels, so it probably is not going to meet your criteria of less than $1,200 per person. Is it warm and sunny in Shanghai? Depending on the year that you go, sure. Does it have water sports? Well, inside the park, it likely will have some water rides, so I put a sorta, maybe, kinda in that because it's not water sports like skiing, although in Shanghai maybe I can do that. I don't know, but I'll have to gather more information. Does it involve mountains? Does it have mountains? I'm not sure. I have to do a little bit more research. And then, do I have the opportunity for luxury accommodations? And I'm pretty sure Disney resorts probably have some higher end hotels that you can stay in, so I would put a yes there. So I know this looks a little confusing because there's a lot of smiley faces and negatives and round. So what we want to do is just start seeing which ones pop out at us the most. And here's what I found. So option 1 across the board has all smiley faces. So that would be the first option that we would consider going on vacation, surfing in the Cayman Islands. And then the second one that had a bunch of smiley faces and 2, I'm not sure yet. These round buttons means all we need to do is do a little bit more research on whether or not hiking in Costa Rica, if we can find a home base that's luxury accommodations, and see if there are water sports in Costa Rica as well as hiking. And then also what came out of it was teaching in English in Swaziland came out as a big no. There was only one smiley face, warm and sunny, but that warm and sunny can be misinterpreted in a different way. Maybe it's warm and sunny, but it's a desert and it's 120 degrees, which is not really what you're looking for. So you could actually change your criteria to warm and sunny, 80-degree temperature, and then that would be a negative. So it looks like the teaching in Swaziland is a negative. And the others, round the world city hopping, might not meet your per person budget criteria right now, but you can modify this idea for maybe your next trip, right? You increase your budget or you take that criteria out. And then just do a little bit more research on the areas where it's a Caribbean cruise, you need more information. You've got 3 smiley faces, but you're not quite sure if it's, I suppose you could take an adult only cruise, so you can do a little bit more info on that. So this is a maybe, and you just require a little bit more information. Now, keep in mind the outcome of any of your idea matrix, it's not set in stone. What it does is it kind of gives you a way to shortlist even further your ideas over here. And some, like I said, are clearly, it's a great idea on the surface, but when matched against the criteria and you fill in your grid, it turns out to be not a great vacation spot or vacation idea for this next vacation based on your criteria. Now, like I said, the next time you go on vacation, regardless of where you what idea you decide to choose for your next vacation based on the outcome, you can keep this list the same because maybe these are all things that you want to try, and just change your criteria at the top, and the outcome of this chart will change based on when you change the elements on the left column and at the top. So, how do you evaluate your ideas? Are there any ideas that stand out against the rest? And clearly in that example there was, the first one at the top. Are there any ideas that clearly don't meet your criteria? And again, the teaching English in Swaziland didn't meet that set of criteria for this example. Now choose one to pursue now, but keep in mind that the others will be there when you're ready for your next project, your next vacation. You don't just throw them away. This matrix just helps you prioritize a little bit about what you want to do first, right now. So that's your idea evaluation matrix, and that is the other side of the coin to brainstorming ideas. And it's a very important point that you can't forget when you're brainstorming ideas. At some point, you have to take those ideas and figure out which ones to run with. And this idea evaluation matrix helps you do just that. See you in the next lesson.